Hey, it's Clay Trader, and this will be a video chart on our weekly recap of the bull charts that were sent out to my bull market newsletter group. And with this, if you've never seen these before, what I do is every week I send out 5 bullish chart setups, all different ones, and then at the end of the week I like to update them, win, lose, or draw. Just like to go over them, just so people can see different ways of playing them. Where mistakes could be made, and just to go over how charting can be used for swing trades, for day trades, what have you. And this will actually be a good video because we had some good examples of things in terms of how you want to and not want to play stocks and so forth. So this is just the newsletter, and like I said, it was for the week of September 21st. So for this past week, we had a focus chart this week, and this is one that I like, and it was WTAR. So we pointed that one out, and this one classified as a volume alert. And real quick, when you get the emailers, we have this section here that go over the chart plays and that describe each one of them. Like I said, there's 5 of them, so you can go over those if you get the emailer. But the 5 this week were FBP, SMBL, HL, WTAR, and TIBX. And this week was kind of boring in the sense of we only had 2 winners, and then we had 3 no plays, meaning nothing really happened. Um, so let's just get started. Our first one was our pattern play, and this was FBP. What we had here was a ascending triangle pattern, meaning we had a steady increase in the price over time. However, we had this resistance level here that was being just a pain, and it was one of those where if it breaks out of this pattern, there could be some upside potential there. So let's go to the chart and see what happened with this one. And let me take a step back. Notice that this is what the chart looked like when we released the chart, and then we come here, and all this blue line means is that's what's telling us. So this is what the chart looked like. We had this resistance trend line coming across, and let's just watch what happened this week. As you can see, nothing happened. There was no breakout to the upside or anything. It just hovered around, never could make any clean breaks of that resistance, and has since just fallen back down. So this is one of our no plays, and sometimes with the pattern plays, they just don't work out because they don't make any significant breaks out of their pattern. So you just chalk it to the side and say maybe next time. Our next play for the week was SMBL. This one was our our bottom bouncer. And the reason this one stuck out was if you look back around these price congestion areas, here was the area of support, came down and tested it again, and then last week at this point it was hovering right around there. So I thought, you know what, it may be bouncing because it's testing the support level. This was one of our winners for the week. So let's see what happened with this one. As you can see, this was what the chart looked like when we sent it out. And then on Monday, bounced very nicely off that support, and then got a little bit of follow through. So had you gotten in down here, it closed, I believe, at right around 635, and it went up to a high of 673. So in these a couple day potential, there was a 6% profit. I actually played this one on Monday. I only sold for 3%, but I had only held for 3 or 4 hours. So it was one of those things where 3% in 4 hours on a relatively large amount of trade using the margin. It made sense to me. But if I had held on, I could have made another 3%. But this was one of our winners, a nice 6% bounce here in a matter of just a couple of days. Once again, these are big board stocks, so liquidity is not a problem. You can buy in as many shares as you want and not have to worry about being able to sell them. Our next play was HL. This was the biggest winner of the week. And what we had here was our trend plate trading play. Sure, you say, well, why would you call this when you had 2 red candles in a row? Well, the key point is the overall trend was up, and even the short-term trend was up here. And even though we were having a pullback, you got to think, what's the overall context? The overall context is bullishness. So these are the types of pullbacks where buying them is pretty safe. Now, if you have a stock that's just dropping off a cliff, buying those pullbacks and buying into that's really risky. But buying a pullback when the overall context is up, is a little safer. So let's see how this one played out. And like I said, this one was a winner for us. Pull up this one. You can see this was the day we announced it. We had these 2 levels here that we pointed out as possible entries on any pullbacks, and sure enough, this first day it dropped down. So if you would have been waiting right around this area as we recommended, you would have been filled. And then here it gapped up the next day. So this move here was good for about 10%. So once again, for holding one day and getting a possible 10%, even if you just had 5 or 6, that's pretty darn good. And just not to repeat myself, but these are high liquidity stocks, so you could have, bought on the margin and had no worries about selling and made some really nice money in a matter of a couple of days. So this was our other winner. And then our focus chart, as I had mentioned earlier, was WTAR. The reason for that was just a huge volume out of nowhere, had some nice price reaction. But this gives a good example of gap ups and how you usually don't want to buy into those. So let me bring up this chart here. So here we are here. This is the day it looked like. Now, the one thing to note is I announced this that I was picking up some shares on Facebook and Twitter right when it was actually I bought it at 12.5 and then it pulled back a little bit. So at right when it was at I think 12 cents or maybe 11.5, I announced on Twitter and Facebook that hey, check out this play, big volume. So if you follow my Facebook or Twitter, you would have had the early heads up to get into this one before it closed. So if you got in on the Facebook or Twitter alert, you would have been just fine. But then on Monday we had a gap way up here. And now what you don't want to do on these huge gaps is you should never buy in on a big gap, because this is what can happen. It can pull back on you. And now the chart's looking much better because it's had this pullback. But actually the next stock, which is a big board one, had the same exact thing. So these gap ups you need to be really careful of. Had you gotten in on my alert, then you would have been just fine. Hopefully you locked in some profits up here. But you got to be careful on these gap ups. These are no plays. You need to at least let them settle for a day or two and see if they're going to be able to hold this gap up. If they do and they kind of just hover along sideways like this, then you know what, this gap up is going to be able to sustain itself. But buying right out of the gates on a gap up, that's a very risky move. And you'll see that right now in this next example too. Our last example is TBIX. This was our pending breakout play, meaning we locate a resistance point. This one being 958, and we wait for that to be broken. So let's see what happens with this play. Once again, this is what the chart looked like when we had it, and it was quiet. And then today, it gapped way up there. And look what happened. And this is a big board stock, so it's not just penny stocks, it's big boards too. And to break this down, and let's look at the 5-minute real quick, this is exactly what happened. The first 5 minutes, it was up here, fell down, and then the next 5 minutes, it really fell apart. So big boards, penny stocks, any sort of stock, you need to be very careful when the stocks gap up big like they did, because here's just another example. Now it is making its way back up nicely, so that's good. But still, if you would have bought right in at the open, you'd be sitting through a lot of pain if you had not already been stopped out. So remember that with these gap ups. They're very tricky and risky. So that was our 5. Like I said, we had a couple winners, some no plays, and good lessons learned with these gap ups and how they are risky. So keep that in mind for the future ones. And if you have any other questions on the charts, let me know. Now, if you're interested in getting these charts, piece of cake, all you have to do is go to bullmarketnewsletter.net. If you sign up for the newsletter there, you'll get a free ebook also. And we send out more than just these bull charts. We'll send out trading ideas and so forth too, which have been making our members good money. But if you're interested in getting these 5 charts weekly, all you have to do is go there and sign up. So if you have any questions, like I said, let me know. But hopefully this next week we'll have some more winners and just keep on chugging along. Everybody have a good weekend.